Welcome to Cincinnati and the WFDF 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships. The opening shots have been fired, the opening gambits have been played, and now we're in power pools. Alongside Becky Thompson, I'm Tom Stiles. This women division power pool matchup between the 6ixers from Toronto and Brilliance from Russia. Becky, what are we going to expect from these two teams?
I think we're going to see a lot of fireworks out here today, Tom. We've got two teams that love their deep game, love to throw those big hucks. Brilliance, we've seen dominate so far, putting up 15-12 against Brute Squad as well, only losing by 3 points there. One of the best results we've seen from a non-American team here so far at the World Championships. And they have all the key players from that Russian beach team who beat the US at Beach Worlds last summer as well. The 6ixers, on the other hand, are a very fast, speedy team as well. They have a very young core with 7 or 8 of their players who played at the U24 World Championships this year in Perth. Seen several of them already out on the line, so look for that young energy, that young spark, but maybe a little bit of momentum shifts with that young energy as well.
And it's not just the players that are young, the club itself is actually very new on the scene, only founded in 2016. And that lack of history, that lack of expectation, do you think that's going to be a positive in this game against Brilliance?
I absolutely think it's a positive. This 6ixers team has proven that the young age of their club has had no effect on them so far. They came into their first ever Canadian Ultimate Championships last year and they won the whole thing. They have zero pressure on their back, no rich club history to live up to, and they're just out here to show exactly what Toronto athletes can do.
And the Brilliance team are going to be in blue. The Canadian team, 6ixers from Toronto, are in white. And we need to talk a little bit about the outstanding result from World Beach last year, which a lot of the players from this Brilliance side, and definitely the key players that we'll be talking about a lot, we'll talk about them as they get involved in the game. But do look out for Dumanskaya. You'll spot her a mile off because she's 6'2". And Sasha Pustovaya as well. Eliza Tizik, one of the Euro star players, is on this side. But they went out and in the final of the World Beach Championships, they scored 4 points in a row against a very strong American side to finish that game in Universe Point and won the only non-American gold medal from World Beach last year. A big upset, massive crowd pleaser. It was a brilliant game to be on the sideline for. And they've come into this tournament a little bit unknown. Didn't play very many warm-up tournaments. Quietly breezed them way around some of the tournaments in Europe. Only went to a couple of those. But they've arrived here looking really strong. A big victory yesterday against Yaka. And I think the 6ixers are in for a good game.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. I think we're about to see an epic showdown here.
It's going to be a hard one to call, but wherever you're joining us, I do hope you are on the edge of your seat and ready for the action here in Cincinnati. The sun is shining, the breeze is light, the temperatures are relatively lower compared with yesterday and the first 2 days of the tournament. It's been hot, hot, hot so far. But today, gentle breeze, much more acceptable weather. In the commentary box, it's cool and we're all relaxed and happy, ready for the big game. And the players will be very grateful for that drop. Maybe 5 or 6 degrees Celsius off the temperature from yesterday, and the humidity is down as well.
Yeah, I think the humidity is definitely the biggest factor to have dropped here. The sun, we're all used to playing in the heat, but that humidity really, really weighs you down. So good to get rid of that here today.
We have Kate Yeski in our commentary box doing stats for us as well, and we'll keep you up to date with all of the ratios and interest. As Sasha Pustovaya hesitates, not a moment. Eliza Tizik, the target, she grabs, goes to the ground after she does so. Quick flick and Brilliance with a very predictable strategy. Tizik the receiver, Pustovaya the supplier for that big hockey assist and a quick pop into the end zone for the first point of the game.
Yeah, what an incredible first shot there from Brilliance. Something I think we're going to see a lot of in this game. They're not afraid to throw up those big shots into coverage. They trust their receivers to come down with those plays, as well as not being fazed by the wind here. As we can see, it is blowing directly into our face. You can see the flags at the back of the field going a little bit wild right now as well. Great first start there for Brilliance.
Tizik, track athlete, made the transition over to ultimate. We're very grateful that she brings her athleticism to the world stage. She is going to be a target from very many of Push to Fire's big deep shots. And 6ixers must know that when Push to Fire has got the disc in her hand, she is going to be looking deep. And there was an advancing Toronto player on the back of Tizik as they chased that disc down. Couldn't quite get enough of a touch. Brilliance off to a perfect start. A clean 3-pass hold. So what every offense wants to begin a game as important as this. And then they go and put the disc out of bounds into the wind. That's quite a skill.
I think that's a little bit of a mistake there as well from Brilliance, not taking advantage of the opportunity to set up an immediate break here, but 6ixers gonna get a chance to take this to the middle of the field here as well.
You see the outstretched arms of Francesca Scarampi making the jump across as Innis now moves the disc out to Kimura. Down the line. Nice reset cut from Kimura. 6ixers keeping the rest of the team well downfield out of the way, Becky.
Yeah, 6ixers generally a team who likes to run through their system. They'll have one person cutting at a time. You will not see them clog the lanes very often here, Tom.
Kimura taps in. Quick movement down to Innis. There's a continuation cut down the line, but she hasn't used it. Now the stall cap's getting high. Brilliance blinded, but what a grab that is. Had to stretch. The disc looked beyond her. It looked like it was going to be a turnover, but incredible athleticism. Innis throwing the hero maker down the line. She'd overcooked it. Let's have a look at this slow motion again, Becky.
Yeah, Sarah Innis there, just getting to a late stall count. She had to put that throw up. Lauren Kimura absolutely extending to make that grab. I think a lot of trust involved in that throw. Kimura took a few cuts there to get open to beat her defender as well, but managed to get there in full extension grab. Really incredible start here for the 6ixers as well.
Wow. High quality ultimate, and it needs to be at this level. There can be no mistakes. We were looking at the draw that these two teams are going to face. There is no easy route on from this point, is there?
No, there's absolutely no easy route. Both of these teams having Brute Squad in their power pool as well. Whoever comes out on top of this power pool is going to go into the same side as that Molly Brown Columbia Revolution possibility for a quarterfinal matchup. Coming second in this power pool, you're going to end up facing the likes of Fury or Riot. So a lot of troubles on either side of the bracket. There is definitely no easy way.
Well, you are at the 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships. This is not... oh, and a dropped pull. Straight away, the disc goes into the ground. Dumanskaya looking to the sky. This is a huge opportunity. Right on the goal line, 6ixers. Disc in hand for Chen. Return pass. Front of the end zone now. Kinoshita finds an available player. Jeanette Kwok, one of the captains for the 6ixers, takes that disc down. Brilliance throwing themselves into all sorts of trouble with that dropped full pull from Dumanskaya. 6ixers grateful and taking the opportunity.
Not something we see very often here at the World Club Championships, Tom, a drop pull, but 6ixers taking advantage there. And I think it's really interesting to see how quickly they move the disc as well. Jess Chen there only looked into the stack for about 1 or 2 stalls before she went straight to her reset option. So quick movement of the disc, not getting stuck in too many situations here.
Let's have a look at this cut from Kwok to get free in the end. She's on the break side. It was already on the correct side. The force didn't manage to contain the play. I was chatting to Jeanette before the game. The team had seen Brilliance play yesterday. They were concerned a little about their speed and height, but also quietly confident, I'd say.
Yeah, 6ixers definitely like to bring in that quiet confidence. They know what they can accomplish here. Brilliance on the same hand, I think, have a similar kind of confidence as well, Tom.
It's one of the things that the top teams need to really work on is their push to Vire again. Cranks up the arm. This time the target can't quite collect it in. Badagina not able to snag that one, but push to Vire, no hesitation. Opens up the big sidearm downfield. 6ixers in a little bit of a high stall count situation here. Brilliance have got it back. Great pressure. Push to Fire in the lane, causing no upfield options. Throwing caution to the wind a little, leaving her defender, but she has the disc in hand now for Brilliance. And big bids required. Sasha Push to Fire shouting at Dumanskaya. Wow, the cuts, a bit of frustration in this Russian team. But big bids coming in. 6ixers are going to be under a lot of pressure for every cut, every pass is going to have a Russian woman running hard. Clean game so far, no calls. Another fingertips away. But 6ixers moving it now. Deep shot goes up. Pressure underneath this one. It's hanging. Big air ball, and the disc comes down. Defense from Brilliance.
Yeah, I think it's great to see the tight coverage through all of those cuts there. Brilliance really trying to stay tight to their mark, not worrying too much about taking away the unders or the outs. They're staying tight to the hip of the 6ixers and causing the pressure to end up getting the D there.
Well, if this quality and pressure continues for the whole game, I think we're going to be exhausted, Becky. Both teams coming out of the blocks hard. Brilliance trying to make up for that dropped ball. Push to Vire signals the timeout. We all get a chance to just take a breath. The pace so far from this game has really been hard. Absolutely.
Both teams have come up absolutely firing. 6ixers trying to work through the backfield there, and they had some issues with finding the open options with the pressure from the Brilliance defense. And I think you're right, Tom. They're going to be quite exhausted if this continues, but credit to them as well. Calling the timeout here to settle down. They want to get back that drop pull, get that break back as well.
And this is really interesting. Great aerial shots from our drone cameraman. Just seeing how the two timeouts are forming themselves down there. Let's have a look at some of the action so far. That incredible Kimura grab down the line. That's perfect form in the air as well. There's the deep shot, not quite collected. It's been an action-packed first 4 points. Again, Brilliance with the errors so far. The timeout is done. This power pool match between Brilliance of Russia and 6ixers of Canada has delivered everything it promised to be. It was our first game that we picked out of the pile yesterday, where we saw today's fixtures. We were like, this is going to be great. And myself and Becky, very lucky to be with you. If you want to get in touch wherever you're watching, you can do so. Twitter is the best way to do that. WFDF Live, the handle you need to hit. And look at the structure you can see from Brilliance. 5 in the stack. It's almost like a textbook's been created. And 6ixers have gone with the zone, one force. And this is like the crash defense we saw yesterday. One force, one stop in the lane, and then a wall of 3, just looking at taking away the cuts as they come in. It's not a defense that we'd seen up until, or certainly I'd seen up until yesterday when Crash were using it. But their Canadian partners, 6ixers from Toronto, using it. But see how exposed they are when they get broken through. Tizik with the disc now for Brilliance. Looks back to Dumanskaya. Push to Vire. Look at the two of these players are going to anchor the back line. Dumanskaya cutting across, and contact made with the 91 shirt of Lindsay Muslim. Tap back in. Push to Vire around to Dumanskaya. Dumanskaya is looking deep, slips a little as she plants her foot. Tizik now. Inside disc is beautiful from Tizik. Got a hand low. Poldovskaya. Dumanskaya. Back to Push to Vire. Tizik cutting the front of the end zone, but a pick is called. 10 shirt of Destin McQuillan. Push to Vire over the top, into space, and it's beautifully collected Poldovskaya, dominant player, and she's got some fantastic stats for this week as well, Becky, but the connection between Brilliance looking a bit better that time.
Yeah, definitely, and I think credit to Pushtovaya there and Dominskaya for controlling that zone offense as well. They looked very calm despite being pushed all the way into the back of their end zone there, broke through into the space and forced the 6ixers to melt very quickly after they'd set up that zone. Again, patience here, waiting for the open cut. I love those inside shots as well from Brilliance there, Tom.
Yeah, Poldovskaya, she wears a married name on the back of her shirt, but she's on our roster as Poldovskaya. That's how I think she's known in the ultimate circles.
I think Brilliance now as well, maybe looking to try something a little bit different on this point. They've been working really, really well with their person-to-person defense as well, Tom, so I won't be surprised to see that pull out, but maybe try and take away a few of those deep shots still as well here.
A better pull from Brilliance, down on the sideline, immediately centering it to Kimura. So it's Baudre who had the disc. Running down the line, she continues her cut. Merrin. Center of the field, Kimura. Looking for options downfield, and a great cut from Innis, exposing the space. Back to Kimura. Static downfield, 6ers with no options. And the options that do arrive are well covered. That nice cut, we've seen two players from 6ers do that, and the disc floats out of their hands and isn't caught. But this cut where they cut to the open side and then button cut back. Is this a Canadian speciality, Beck?
This is definitely a 6ers speciality here, Tom. They love to cut to that open space and to cause their defender to bite onto that break side as well to get open on the open side.
Yeah, we saw, we'll keep a lookout for that for all the textbook fans looking for some new moves to go coach back in their own team, see if we can draw your attention out to that. But 6ers using it to great effect, and here we see their person-to-person defense. They've dropped from their zone. Maybe they're going to throw the zone coming back the other way. A lot of noise in the pack. Parshakova. Pushtovaya. There's Anna Pushtovaya, the other sister. Sasha's sister, and that disc from Pushtovaya goes to ground. 6ers with a fresh chance. Resets into the center of the field. Spins it into the end zone. It's no mistake this time. Tidying it up. And a clean catch for a clean score.
Yeah, Sarah Marr there. I think she wanted to get that little bobble back that she had in the end zone. Gets the disc and makes no mistakes this time. And full credit to 6ers there. Their person-to-person defense, similar to Brilliance, is putting so much pressure on all those open cuts as well.
Well, both teams having a bit of a mess of their offense, but they've held on. We are one break between these two teams. Back with more in a moment.
Catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.
Welcome back to Cincinnati. Tom Stiles alongside Becky Thompson, Communications Director for Ultimate Canada, and very familiar with the team in white, the 6ers from Toronto. And their opponents today from Russia, it's Brilliance. Disc in hand, the familiar tall figure of Pushtovaya finds Elisa Tizik. Downfield, Poldovskaya, back to Pushtovaya. Sasha Pushtovaya looking for options. Dominskaya cutting, manages to get herself free. forcing them back now. Sixers defense is having an impact. A little bit of a touch and a barge. Tizik having to go to ground. She looks a little uncomfortable there, but there was a pick in the middle of the field that stopped the running, and it's going to come back to Domanskaya.
Yeah, and the height matchup here as well, I want to highlight between Domanskaya and Molly Lewis here for Sixers. Sixers not the tallest team, so using the advantage of that one matchup in the situation, but so far Domanskaya able to get open at ease as well, Tom.
It's interesting that Domanskaya, despite her height, generally plays in this handling role. They don't use her as a deep threat. She can cut deep, and she does have some score stats to her name, but generally she's going to be found in the handling role. Lewis containing her well at the moment, though. Brilliant break, using the long arms to get round, and they're going to have to tidy up these grabs. That's a third or fourth drop. Poldovskaya putting it to the ground this time. Lewis across the field to Britt DeSantos, one of the youngest members of Sixers. Down the line, the target is there, beautifully read all the way in by Jeanette Kwok. Elegant stuff.
And that's, I think, where we start to see a lot of that chemistry that the Sixers have built as well. Laura Kinoshita there didn't need to look up for too long to know that she had that deep threat going in the form of Jeanette Kwok as well. Beautiful laser of a throw directly into her hands. Perfect grab there by Kwok as well.
And that's the difference between these two teams right now. You see Brilliance discs are just beyond their player, or they're making these nervous handling errors. And the Sixers, that disc to Kwok is perfection, isn't it? She's taking it in stride. She doesn't have to bust a gut to get there. She's done the hard work to get free of the defender, and she can just run onto it, catch it, no layout required. And Sixers are the better team at the moment. They're in form, and they lead this game 4-2.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Brilliance at this point just need to take that deep breath and calm themselves down, maybe a little bit of jitters. They're in a power pool situation. They want to finish in the top two of this pool. Finishing in the bottom two of this power pool puts you in another crossover game, so you have to play an extra game before getting into the round of 16. So both of these teams really wanting to win this game here, maybe just a little bit of nerves from Brilliance.
Well, the Brilliance team had a bit of a, well, let's clarify that a little bit. The Russian players that were on the beach team, they had a bit of an up and down tournament back in France last year. So plenty of familiarity with dragging themselves back from situations where they've been down. A lot of experience, and there's no mystery as to why they're down in this game. You know, they've made basic handling errors. They've dropped a pull on the line. But apart from, if they can tidy up those basic handling errors, I think they're right in this game.
Yeah, I completely agree there, Tom. I think Sixers capitalizing on any time the disc is turned over as well, taking advantage of those mistakes made by Brilliance. But really, that is the only difference maker. If Brilliance can focus in those throws and make those catches as well, we're going to be right back in this game.
Brilliance team standing very close to each other on the line. I don't know if that's to make it difficult for the Sixers players to track who's on defense. Sasha Pushtovaya clamps the hands above this handling anchor. Every offensive point, she is going to be picking up the disc. She is going to be looking deep. The wind, I don't know if you can see too many flags on the far side of the field, but the wind is blowing directly at the camera. You see this overhead shot again. Domanskaya connects to Pushtovaya. The zone look from Sixers. It's a different zone look. Calling the timeout.
It's a contested stall down, I believe, in the middle of the field there, Tom. Sixers really trying to jam up the middle of this field too. They're zone at the front, but it looks like they're person in the back field here. So trying to really stop any upfield options.
Eventually gets the disc out, contesting that stall out. Low release required. They've They've got a little bit tighter now, the Sixers, transitioned as they get to the halfway point. Smart defense from this young squad. Pushdovaya looking for something from Dumanskaya, does get herself free. Holdovskaya is available on the far side. Dumanskaya, the attentions that she is getting from the 93 shirt of Naomi Redmond is preventing disc, but the air ball has gone into the end zone. Oh, it's a read and two Sixers players. The read from the Brilliance receiver.
Badia Gina there just got up for that disc as well, Tom. Surprised almost to see her not come down with it. She rose above both of those Sixers players.
Throw away from Sixers, the disc back in the hands of the team in blue. Badia Gina did look like she'd got position, but the wind is a big factor when the disc is in the air for so long. The height is very difficult to track when you're right underneath it. Timing of those jumps can be a real factor. All three players are underneath getting it wrong. Pushdovaya again, threatening with that arm. Tizik using her speed to get free. Something on the open side, please. There we go, and Brilliance score it. Tizik just waiting for the arrival.
The movement there from Elisa Tizik as well, Tom. She's really been dominating her cuts to get under, get open, focusing more on making some of those grabs. We saw her bobble it on the last point there. But when she does have the disc in her hands, she is so calm and collected there, waits for the perfect option, gets the open side cut. And I think she's a player that I really want to keep an eye on for this game, definitely dominating those cutting lanes for Brilliance.
It played on the Eurostars tour last year. She's on the tour again this year as well. She's going across to the far side of the field now. It's interesting to watch her alongside Dumanskaya. There's probably 30 centimeters of height difference between the two of them, but they just goes to show how the different body types can all contribute to this game in different ways. Elisa Tizik using her acceleration to get free, and it's first 20 yards. It's hard to imagine very many players in the world able to keep up with her pace. And Dumanskaya, 6'2", using her range, her long limbs to be such an effective thrower, getting around any sort of force. Sixers with a fairly conventional stack. The big disc goes up, separation, pressure from Brilliance, and a quick pop into the end zone. Sixers must be looking very happy with their offensive work so far.
Sarah Bobak as well. She is that deep receiver that they will look to consistently through this game. And credit to her, she started that cut so early, knowing that Kimura can make that throw all the way down the field. No worries running onto that, no worries on the pressure there, and then just calmly throws a little dish into the end zone for the score.
A great follow-up by Sarah Innes. She'll get the stat. But the hard work was done with that big hockey assist downfield from Kimura. She's had a great game so far. We saw her in that first point with a huge layout to keep the disc alive and get Sixers on the scoreboard.
Yeah, Kimura really a general of the offense here for the Sixers team. You'll start to see her come out in tight situations. She won't ever really fall to the pressure of a game as well. No hesitation on that flick huck, and that's also the wind coming towards us as well, has the ability to push that huck out of bounds, hangs up into space regardless of the wind, and full credit for the confidence it takes to make that throw as well.
Being such a young team, they don't have a massive amount of history. They won their national championships last year. This is their first international tournament apart from traveling across to some USA U events south of the border. Brilliance with Tizik in the center of the field. Dumanskaya using a reach to get low on the far side of the field now. Kochanova back in Pushdovaya. Pushdovaya cranks the arm, low release, high floating ball into the end zone. Pushdovaya's puts are delightful to watch. such power and the disc just flying, and it's such a strong wind. I can't emphasize enough, this breeze must be a nightmare to throw into. You wouldn't know there was a breeze considering how flat that disc stayed, Becky.
No, the way all of these players are throwing the disc right now in this weather, have absolutely no idea of the wind, and the way that the Brilliance players are tracking down those hucks, and Pushtovaya absolutely flawless with those throws. Just throws the big inside out flick huck into the far corner of the end zone. Double coverage, no issue there for Brilliance.
That's the second time 6ixers have had two players chasing down one of those long shots from Pushtovaya, not able to get the defense. Are Brilliance riding their luck a little bit?
A little bit as well. I think that they're also reading that disc very well and getting themselves into the right positions to make a play. Whether there is a play made from 6ixers, there could end up being a lot of contact as well. You want to watch out for that. Brilliance, I think just a lot of trust in this team is what I'm seeing right now.
You see on your screen at the moment the 32 shirt of Francesca Scarampi, a player we're more familiar with seeing playing for Iceni in London, legend of the European ultimate scene, very familiar figure. Letting that disc go to the ground gives Brilliance a chance to come down and put a force on. See the cuts coming out of the stack downfield, but it's a reset. Moving the disc nicely to Innis, looking to continue up the line. Kimura available for the reset. The disc from Innis is behind Kimura, drops herself to the floor backwards. Quick break from Brilliance into the end zone, and that is a real gift from the 6ixers. A throwaway on the brick mark. Brilliance react fast, score fast. They've leveled it up at 5 apiece.
Yeah, and the way Natalia Mashianova there already cutting to the end zone before her teammate had picked up the disc, knowing they had that opportunity for the fast break. We're all tied up again here, Tom, and that's an incredible way to take advantage of a turnover there.
Well, we saw 6ixers do it when Brilliance dropped that pull. Almost a similar situation there, right in the power position, on the brick mark pretty much. But the reaction time, that takes a lot of coordination between the teams, a lot of awareness from those players. Punishing mistakes is what the best teams do. Watching power pool action here from the Lebanon Sports Center, just north of Cincinnati. And it's the WFDF 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships. Tom Stiles and Becky Thompson covering this game. 6ixers from Canada in the white, Brilliance from Russia in the blue. Sixers, team from Toronto, bring the disc to the brick mark. The disc going out of bounds, this breeze causing havoc for the pullers. Disc goes up into the end zone, gonna be pressure underneath it, but it's beautifully read. Run all the way in from Jordan Merrin. He had the Sixers offense is predictable. We know what's going to happen. They're going to swing it to that side. They're going to jam it down the line, but it's been so effective, Becky.
Yeah, extremely effective there. You see Lauren Kimura waiting for her option as well. Gets it in the form of Jordan Marin streaking to the end zone. Incredible play there from 6ixers.
It's neck and neck in this one. Can't wait to find out what's coming next. Join us in a moment.
If you want to be a high performer, eat like one. Start with a balanced diet and drink plenty of water. Good nutrition is one of the best ways to boost your mental and your physical health.
The drone flies through the cloudless skies over the Lebanon Sports Center. The WFDF logo gleaming on the grass and the play gleaming on the field. Pushtovaya with disc in hand for Brilliance. Domanskaya using her. There's the powerful throw from Domanskaya. Again, there's long shots from Brilliance into traffic. 6ixers doing a great job of taking away those long discs. They have a deep shot of their own coming back the other way, but that's misjudged badly.
Yeah, I think that's the first real mistake we've seen here from the 6ixers as well in terms of looking for those deep options. They've been so on point when they have thrown those deep shots so far. But Britt Dos Santos there maybe getting a little bit excited, uncorking, but way too low and quick to the end zone.
Birch has gone up to the disc and tapped it to start the stall count. Pushtovaya maybe coming in on a high stall already. Beautifully read from Tizik, came back underneath. Moldovskaya. Domanskaya getting herself free. Down the field is Pushtovaya again. Stall count getting high, getting close to the end zone now. Poloskaya jams it in quickly. Badagina catches for the score. And 6ixers, they had the chance there, but they can't give the disc back to Brilliance that easily if they're going to run away with this game.
Yeah, that's not something we've seen from 6ixers so much in this game. When they have gotten the disc back on defense, on those defensive points, they've taken advantage of those situations. In this case, just rushing it a little bit, getting excited, and now we're able to see Brilliance also capitalizing on those mistakes as well. Maybe a late stall count throw there at the start from Pushtovaya, but well read by having the likes of Tizik in the lanes as well. Not much that 6ixers can do about that working up the field. They should have valued the disc there more, Tom.
Well, we have another chance now to have a look at this 6ixers offense. We've seen the same types of movement from them every single time. We have our drone camera around. We've been able to get some good views of that action.
Yeah, and one thing with the 6ixers is key as well is they're not afraid to start their cuts too deep in the lanes. A lot of teams will emphasize that those cuts have to start closer. They start deep and they get these huge gainers off of it as well.
Different look this time. They've gone for the side stack. Now creating a lot of space for the undercut. Innis making that pace and allowing herself to be found. The system that the 6ixers players are able to work with, that quick change of offensive style, makes it very difficult for the defenders to adapt. They don't know what they're going to get. They've been very effective with their offense so far. And now we see a different look. Just keep Brilliance on their toes and guessing what's coming next. Downfield, little bump, writes it out. Jordan Merrin with disc in hand. She's called that foul. Anushka Boudre with so it's Pushtovaya, Anna Pushtovaya on the mark. Baudre's here with the disc for 6ixers now. Kimura. Down the line, but no cuts to follow up. Now Baudre's continues down the line, back to Kimura. Disc from Kimura into space. It's a high release, but towing the line and dropping the disc. Would she drop that? Was that a celebration throwaway? It was a drop, Becky. That was really unusual.
Spending a little too much time focusing on where that line was to keep her toes in bounds, and sometimes that does cause the disc to bobble out of your hands.
Let's have a look at it again. She made the catch, but she dropped it as she put her foot down.
It's hard to tell how long that takes to catch that as well. When you stop full rotation of the disc, I would argue that was a catch there, Tom.
She certainly could have made a valid argument that she completed that pass. When Callahan is scored, number 9. It's Sarah Kidd. The throwaway caught, the disc caught in the wind. Kidd reads it beautifully. Anna Callahan for the 6ixers. See Parshakova coming off the field. She'd thrown that disc and getting comfort from her teammates. No one wants to throw at Callahan. Sarah Kidd reacting fast.
Yeah, Sarah Kidd, a veteran player here. She's actually her first year playing for the Sixers, but she spent years playing for the Capitals, the top team of Canada for many, many years out of the Ottawa, Toronto regions as well. Just reads that disc perfectly, and credit to Sixers as well. I think one of the reasons they're not too worried about that being a drop is they have confidence in their defense to get those discs back, and now we're seeing that with the Callahan.
Becky, watching this game and watching the action on field, I would say the Sixers have played better in this game so far, but the score says they're 1 point apart and they're scoring Callahans to get that difference. How are Brilliance staying in this game so well?
I think Brilliance have stayed in this game by using a few heads-up plays, a little bit of luck on their side as well. They've had some late stall count throws with the likes of Tizik able to bring them down. So using a bit of luck and a few key top players in order to keep themselves involved in the game.
You see this zone defense from the Sixers. The systems that we've seen from the Canadian team have allowed their players a lot of tactical advantage. But Pushtavaya cranks up the arm, two defenders running in to get it again. Pushtavaya, no hesitation in this wind to throw to marked players deep. And I think we've seen her do it so many times. Is she backing her receivers, or is she just saying, actually, in this breeze, we'd happily take the disc down that end of the field?
I think it's a bit of both there, Tom. I think they're happy to play defense down here, but I also think they're trying to force a few of those hucks now. That is the play that they're so used to making. Sixers, having watched them play yesterday, taking away that option on the deep strikes.
Disc going up, caught in the breeze. There's going to be lots of players underneath it. Brilliance are there, Sixers are there, and the disc can't be collected by any of them. Touch from Sixers, but it is a turnover. Both teams happy to play the deep game in the breeze. Sixers with a more effective defense though when they get there. Seeing this Canadian style zone again, one on the mark, one blocking the lane, and then three players further out in a circle. Polovskaya, the target for this deep shot. She's running in, but always marked. And Britt DeSantos reading that one down and catching it. This time, it's the 7 shirt of Jeanette Kwok who's dropped it right on the line. Brilliance with another chance. Dumanskaya, can they take advantage of the good fortune they're getting from Sixers? The chances keep being given their way. Nice swinging play across the field to the near side. And the 19, Badagina involved again. Great cut, good flow. 7 apiece, we're on Galaxy Point.
And Sixers just gifting that opportunity there to Brilliance as well. But credit to Brilliance, they moved that disc quickly at the end zone. I think Brilliance here, Tom, are playing a little bit of a huck and pin style from what we can see. They're not waiting till late in the stall count. They're not even really waiting for an open option deep to throw those long hucks now, but happy to play defense down near that end zone.
So last point of the half at 8. It's a game to 15. 100 minutes on the clock. This is a big momentum swing, potentially taking this half if Brilliance can break Sixers going into the half. The ideal situation for the team in blue. Kimura, she has been the go-to handler, and once more, this time Sarah Kidd not able to wrap her hands around the disc. Another turnover, handling error, Pushtavaya into traffic. Merrin collects for Sixers. 2 turnovers One each for these two teams. Deep shot from Kimura to try and end the half, and she jumps it in. Chased down from Sarah Bobak. Kimura the supplier, and the long shots are finally connected for 6ixers. They take the half, 8-7.
Yeah, Laura Kimura, no hesitation there. She's got two open receivers going deep into the end zone there, and Sarah Bobak, absolute incredible speed to run that down, jumping perfectly into the end zone.
So 6ixers with the 1 point gap at half. Back with more action from Cincinnati in a moment.
There is a place where we are us at our best.
A place where everyone is welcome.
Regardless of age, shape, skin color, or anything else that tries to box people in.
A place where we defy the odds.
And even defy gravity.
A place that knows grit, knows grace, knows bright lights, and knows empty bleachers.
A place where we remember to laugh.
Where we learn to trust.
And eventually, even learn to fly.
A place where character, community, and competition
are all as balanced as a disc in flight.
That place isn't in a stadium or on a field.
That place is in the spirit of our players.
Because we don't just play ultimate, we live ultimate.
The sunshine bakes down on the fields in Ohio, cloudless skies. And this power pool matchup between Brilliance from Russia and the 6ixers from Canada. Tom Stiles with you alongside Becky Thompson. And Becky, tell us a little bit about the 6ixers. That we've noticed they're doing this zone defense. What have you noticed from the first half there?
Yeah, so the 6ixers almost on every single point now are coming down in this zone set, but they're only holding it for about 1 or 2 throws. They're getting somebody in the lanes right in front of the thrower to poach off. They're trying to stop that initial hug play, and then they're silently melting back to their person defense. It's a very effective play for them. They're not yelling melt on the field, so the Brilliance team having to readjust more than once on that point to change their offense as well.
We saw Sasha Pustavaya, no hesitation, 7 or 8 shots during that game where she's just throwing deep and looking for one of her players to bring the disc down. It's worked on occasions, and it's caused a lot of turnovers for them as well. Let's have a think about what could be coming next in this second half. Brilliance trail by 1. Back with more in a moment. One thing that has separated these two teams, or one thing that we've spotted from both of these teams in that first half, was they both seem very happy to just jack it deep with the big arm. Pustavaya for Brilliance, no stranger to the long shot, but she seems to be throwing to closed players who are heavily marked, and 6ixers have got close to some Ds and got quite a lot of turnovers from that sort of throw as well, Becky.
Yeah, it looks like Brilliance here are just trying to force those opportunities a little bit. We see them chase a few of these hucks down, getting the grab on this one from Tizik, but trying to throw those into coverage even when they're not necessarily open, Tom.
So that huge layout from Kimura.
I I mean, for me, Tom, that's got to be one of the plays of the game so far, and that was only the second point.
Yeah, she needed to do that to stay in the game. Get the game off to the right sort of start. Kimura has been outstanding for 6ixers so far in this game, providing that big hockey assist as well. Action-packed Callahan to finish that package of highlights from the first half. Second half will be kicking off in just a moment. Back with you shortly.
Catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.
No kid should have an overuse injury. Limit young ones to one sport per season, save sport specialization for later, and cross-train with your kids. Parents and kids will both benefit.
Welcome back to Cincinnati, the WFDF 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships. Sun baking down on the Ohio grasslands of the Lebanon Sports Center. And Russia and Canada, the two countries represented by Brilliance and 6ixers. Brilliance in the blue, 6ixers in the white. Myself, Tom Stiles, and alongside me is Becky Thompson, Communications Director for Ultimate Canada. And supporting the Canadian team, Becky, or you're trying to keep your biases to one side for this game?
Oh, my biases are definitely not to one side at this point. Well, I mean, obviously I love the Canadians. I love the Canadians, but I do also, Tom, I'd love to see teams from non-North American countries do well. I think it's really phenomenal to see teams like Brilliance come out here at the World Championships, like Columbia Revolution, and really take it to these North American teams to say, hello, we're here as well. And so far, we've got a pretty close game on our hands, although I do have to say 6ixers playing a little bit better. Brilliance getting a little bit lucky, but hanging in here, only 1 point down.
I would agree with that analysis. Brilliance are still in this game, but they've not been the better team. Kimura with that fast cut out of the stack to get us started in the second half. She's been deadly with the deep shots. Spreading the play now. 6ixers is still in a tight stack, but deep cut goes down the field now. It's going to be chased down and runs, catches, and a one-handed grab from Anushka Baudre.
Yeah, and that's one really interesting thing for me as well, is that is a handler striking deep into the end zone to score that point in the form of Anushka Baudre. Another young player, played U24s in Perth this year. A dominating factor for this 6ixers team, but they're not afraid to have the cutters and handlers shift into those different positions. Lauren Kimura starting in the back of the stack there as well early in that point, cutting under to get the disc. Sarah Innes, a cutter, ending up in the handling positions before Sarah Kidd puts up that big backhand to Anushka Baudre. So a lot of flow between the roles here on this team, and very, very smooth cutting from them as well, Tom.
Well, they have that 2-point margin with an offensive hold going into the halftime, another offensive hold coming out. They've broken Brilliance twice, but been broken back once themselves. The teams were trading coming into the half for 5 points, but turnovers in all but one of those points, and in one case, more than one turnover. So it's not been the cleanest game. Very exciting for us here in the commentary box. We don't mind a turnover or two to get the action going.
Yeah, definitely been enjoyable for us to watch up here, Tom.
Britt DeSantos with the pull. Interesting, Dumanskaya letting that dive into the grass. She dropped a pull earlier in this game. Not allowing that to happen again, just by not even trying to catch it. Poldovskaya running, the disc from Push-to-Via rises in the breeze. 6ixers with a chance. Dos Santos to Lewis. Back to Dos Santos now. Movement through the center of the field. The disc was aimed at Christine Jurachuk. Was too far ahead of her. Brilliance have the disc back. Again, riding their luck a little bit. Push-to-Via. Same throw again from Push-to-Via. Catches in the breeze, rises over the top of the Brilliance receiver. 6ixers have it back once more. Brilliance are going to have to be able to deal with this wind. It has dropped off a little bit, but it's still blowing, and it's going to continue to blow for the rest of this game. Lewis. Great grab from Jurachuk, but it had to be. That disc again rising into the sky, but so is Britt DeSantos. Reaches up with the hand, brings it down for the score.
And Britt DeSantos there, one of the youngest members of this team, playing for the U20 national Canadian team this year in Waterloo as well. Huge grab there from Christine Jurachuk, and that is something that she has never been afraid to do. She'll throw her body around, and that disc rising up, not a problem for Dos Santos here.
That's a nice break and a score out of the half. 10-7 is the score to 6ixers at the moment.
Do you want to avoid overuse injuries? Cross-train. Get your exercise routine out of a routine and mix it up with a variety of activities. Your muscles, tendons, and joints will thank you later.
I think myself and Becky are going to have to get ourselves a kite after this game, because the breeze has stepped up another gear. In that last point we saw Brilliance give the disc away. 2 shots from Push-to-Via that were attended as simple swing passes, rising in the breeze, creating those turnovers for 6ixers. And they need to get control of this wind.
Yeah, you can see the flags going crazy in the background of your shot right now. Brilliance started off this game looking like the wind was not going to be an issue for them at all, and since then we've seen them throw it up too high more than once, so definitely need to gain control here, Tom.
Dumanskaya again choosing not to catch the pull. That's going to drift downfield. Is it going to drift out? Yes, I did wonder as soon as she threw that whether she'd left the windward side of the disc too high on the throw. Push-to-Via, so competent and powerful with that arm. Not the sort of quality we usually expect from her.
Yeah, and I do think still a little bit of forcing these hucks as well. We've seen Push-to-Via go to that huck very early in the stall count, trying to go for that option right away when it's not necessarily open, and in this case not taking care of the wind either.
Kwok. To Chan. Dos Santos, one of the 2 Dos Santos sisters playing for the 6ixers. Britt Dos Santos making herself very available, and a floaty. How has that happened?
That disc just dropped right as Laura Kinoshita went to grab it. Thought she had an easy catch, went out with the one hand, and it just dropped right underneath her hand there, Tom.
Well, there is a textbook lesson for anybody. Kinoshita teaching that one beautifully. If you go with one hand, there is a chance you might miss a disc. The clap catch was the option, and
just a little bit too casual.
A little bit too casual. They've done all the hard work, though. I was just about to compliment 6ixers on their flow up this near line, but if it doesn't result in a point, and again, the big bid. What a grab that is downfield. The throw from Push-to-Via, still with Brilliance. They want to get the disc downfield as quickly as possible. Dumanskaya and a D out of nowhere. The 28 shirt of Jenna McLeod, making sure there's no chance for Brilliance to connect. Now we've got a big disc going back the other way. Dumanskaya, no mistake this time.
Yeah, no issue for Dominskaya there. She definitely did not want to let that one into the hands of Nico Burst there. But I'm not quite sure about that throw from Reeve Chan as well, sitting up into space, allowing the height of Dominskaya to contest with that one.
Dominskaya injured or timeout? She's called a timeout on McLeod, trying to claim timeout on 2. Don't think Dominskaya had barely had the disc in her hand before she touched it to her fingers. I think that's sure the players will work it out between them. 10-7 the score. And again, Becky, exactly as we've seen all game. Sasha Pushtovaya in the 69 shirt. As soon as she has the disc in hand, she's looking deep, she's looking to use her power. Let's have a look at how that turnover caused. Big layout required to rescue the Pushtovaya disc. There's McLeod saying no, slams the door.
Yeah, Jenna McLeod there just totally ready for that opportunity. She was heads up, looking to where the disc was the whole time, not worrying so much about where her player was, getting her body in the way of that throw.
The Brilliance defender was waiting for the disc to arrive in her hand. Jenna McLeod not giving it the opportunity to get there.
I also think, Tom, maybe a little bit of tiredness being shown from these Brilliance players. The decision there by Domaskina to throw that into the tight corner of the end zone with the coverage of McLeod there as well. We're also seeing them throw these hucks very early on, which can sometimes be a sign that they are a little bit mentally tired in this game right now.
I would agree with you, Becky, but they've been throwing those hooks from the first pass. You know, this seems like a tactic rather than just a sign of weariness. And Dominskaya, because she's so tall, she sometimes looks like she's moving slowly. Really isn't. She can cover some real ground, but she just does it with a lot less strides than most of the other players on the field. She breaks forward now. Again, a lot of 6ixers pressure there. Jenna McLeod proving how effective she is on D. The face mark picked out by Dominskaya. She finds that little round disc to Pushtovaya. Chan not watching the frisbee.
Yeah, you can see Chan here has positioned herself off of the mark, straight up to try and stop the hucks of Pushtovaya.
Yeah, that extra stride does make it difficult. They all know Pushtovaya is the threat. Trying to stop her is another matter. Big layout. Dos Santos throwing herself at that one. Didn't get the turnover. Brilliant still have it. 6ixers putting a lot of pressure on the team from Russia. Another call downfield. It's been a good game from the call point of view. Both teams keeping it clean. Calls have been resolved quickly. Pushtovaya into the end zone. It's going to be a little bit too far away. The wind pushing the disc out of the side of the field. 6ixers have it again.
Yeah, and with the wind coming directly across the field like that, throwing to that side has to have a lot of touch on that throw, and Pushtovaya there just throwing it a little bit too hard. She did have a wide open player going to that break side, so not a bad option in this case though, Tom.
Birch. Dos Santos. Low disc. Just picked off the grass by Kinoshita in a discussion. Kinoshita successfully arguing that she caught the disc before it hit the turf. It was close.
Yeah, that disc was dropping very, very quickly there, Tom.
We're in a crosswind for these players. And it's blowing straight towards the camera. It's fairly brisk, but also rising and dropping between each point. Dos Santos, no hesitation as she lays out, feeding Kwok into the end zone now. Kwok looking for that second time round shot, and it's just beyond the 6ixers shirt, running down hard. Kwok drops hands onto her knees, and an injury for Miriam Tingle. Threw a whole self at that disc, couldn't quite bring it in.
Miriam Tingle just going in very, very hard. I think she really wanted to make that grab, and the turf here a little bit hard. When you make a full flying layout like that, you do often hit the ground quite hard as well. Kwok just throwing that one too far into space. It's too bad. That was a very wide open cut. You want to see those throws go directly into the hands of your receiver.
We did have a fairly significant but short shower 2 nights ago. There was a little bit of rain last night, but not much. The weather here in Ohio does seem to be very localized, big clouds drifting across, but the ground got a nice give in it, but it will still give you a shock if you throw yourself onto it. Push to Vire again with a trademark deep shot to a lot of traffic, and Dos Santos is dominating anything aerial, anything that's too far away. Dos Santos throwing herself at it. She has been outstanding for 6ixers in the last couple of points. Chan opens up the arm, sending it deep to Kwok, and again she takes it in stride. 6ixers establishing a 4-point cushion and looking dominant so far.
Yeah, this is the style of play that we saw from 6ixers throughout the whole first half, but this time they're managing to pull away from Brilliance. Brilliance not getting so lucky with some of those big hucks that they're putting up, the likes of Britt Dos Santos dominating that space. She had 3 Brilliance players around her, but made easy work of that to come down with it too.
I was hoping we would see more from Brilliance. I think the 6ixers have played a very canny game here. They've shot themselves in the foot a few times, and that's why they're only 4 points ahead. The evidence from the rest of the game suggests that they could easily be 7 or 8 points ahead at this stage. Their structure has been good on offense and on defense. They've had some great plays from Kimura and Dos Santos, really making a name for herself in this game. Big plays on defense from McLeod as well. And 6ixers thoroughly deserving their 4-point lead. Brilliance scratching around for ideas. They seem to have this deep shot, but 6ixers have got that covered. They've eliminated the deep threat completely now.
Yeah, and 6ixers did spend some time watching Brilliance play yesterday, so I think aware that that is their game, they've really found a strategic way to shut it down. Brilliance are going to have to find a way to improvise around that defense now, just taking a timeout here. They know that this is the time they've got to go now. They've got to start to work themselves back into it, because at this point, if they trade, 6ixers have had this game won.
And that's going to be a real struggle. I mean, just looking at the stats and seeing if we can see how many times of the Brilliance D-line actually... So they've managed to get the disc from 6ixers 50% of the time, the D-line have, but they've only broke on 1 of those occasions. So once they have the disc, they need to be more efficient with it. 6ixers have made, certainly in that first half, a lot of handling errors and throwaways, and that's given Brilliance chances. They've used those to stay in this game. They don't really have an answer on their own offense. Let's see if they do anything differently this time. Skarampi on field with Dumanskaya handling at the back. And it's mistakes that are going to take Brilliance out of this game. Keeping that disc alive. Bobbling in the breeze. The wind whistling across the Ohio grass. No clouds in the sky. Pleasant temperatures and a point block. Slams the door shut. Throws her arm down. Polskaya says no. Dumanskaya picks up the 44 shirt. All the height. Big bid coming in. Brilliance no. Every pass is going to be tightly contested. Looking for an around throw, but there isn't a cut there. Looking down the line, Dumanskaya throws into an exposed space. Skarampi does exactly what she's been doing for so many years for Iceni. This time, grabbing it for Brilliance, making herself available. And Francesca Skarampi back within 3. Still a lot of work to do for Brilliance.
That is absolutely the point that Brilliance needed to have coming out of that timeout. That is the first time that they've really forced 6ixers to make a D to get the turnover as well. We've seen 6ixers turn over with a few drops, give the disc back to Brilliance, but on this case, the huge hand block from The Brilliance player there, just seen it now, swats it away, reads that perfectly from Lewis, and they absolutely took advantage in this situation here, Tom.
The footwork from Polderskaya there, if you're learning how to play and you're learning how to mark, just watch Polderskaya, not just her arm, but her footwork. The only way she can reach that disc is by moving her feet, following the pattern of the pivot of the offensive player. Able to get the arm across there. You can only get your arm out there if your feet are in the right place, and that was impressive demonstration stuff.
Yeah, incredible job there from Brilliance. They really needed that coming out of the timeout. They're really going to need to get a break here as well.
The first point of the where Brilliance have been on offense, and Sasha Pushchavaya wasn't on the field as well. Threw a different look, and it was effective for the team in blue. Can they come out now on D and get a block? Yes, they can. 6ixers still not able to remove these errors from their game. The wind not helping them in any way whatsoever. It's bustling across the field towards the camera. Poshakova looks downfield, sends it. There's a touch underneath, it couldn't quite be reeled in. Pichugina was there, she had her hand up, couldn't grab on.
I think that has to be caught there, Tom. That is an opportunity to get yourself back within 2 points when you were just down 4. That's gotta be caught.
Kimura now. She's looked solid. It's almost like there's no wind when she's on the disc. Bobak. Back to Kimura. Spreads the play to the far side, the windward side. Anushka Bodre. Back to Kimura. Kimura layout. There's a second big layout of the game, but it tickles off the thumb onto the floor. Frustration as Brilliance bring it back across. That's a grab. Natasha Doff for Brilliance. Asks a little bit too much of the receiver. The wind pushing the disc away from Inga Sulimanova. Sulimova not able to connect. Laura Kimura again. Throws it downfield. It's not going to come back in. It's going to be a turnover within 10 yards. And that's the worst play we've seen from Kimura all game. She's been rock solid for this team so far,
She
Becky.
absolutely has. She had no options for that reset throw, forcing her to look upfield and a late stall count. The wind, again, coming our direction, so pushing that one directly out of bounds. This is going to gift a very important opportunity here to Brilliance. They'll be very happy to have this one back in their hands.
This could be a break as well. Get them back within 2. Sulimova has it for Brilliance, the team from Russia. Into space on the far side of the field. That disc from Sulimova has opened up the entire field. Can they score from it? Back across to the other side. Back line, not a problem. Natasha Doff reads it. And 2 of the most varied throws. Big swing to the far side. Big swing back across. The 6ixers players underneath both of those throws. And a big score, a big break for Brilliance.
Yeah, Sulimova there. Absolutely incredible cross-field throw. We're also seeing her layout D on the screen, but no hesitations in making those plays here. That one should have been caught for Brilliance, but they managed to grind this point out, and they managed to really grind it with their defense rather than 6ixers making all the mistakes, making the actual decision to put on tighter marks to get those run-through blocks. Fortunately, that one just out of the hands there, but Brilliance here, the around flick into space, wide open player just inside the end zone. Brilliance are back within 2.
I think when 6ixers are watching this game back, they're going to wonder how have we let Brilliance get back in this game? But you're quite right. The change after that timeout, they took They took Sasha Pushtovaya off on offense, and then they came down on defense with a new kind of aggression. We've not seen that up until we saw some new personnel on the line. They looked fresh, they looked alert, and they really created problems for 6ixers. And it's the first time they've really been able to do that.
Yeah, we've seen them come out with a whole different sense of energy here as well, and 6ixers just taking a timeout to try to stop the momentum that Brilliance has come back out with, but they're really starting to work it with their legs, a newfound sense of energy. I take back everything I said about them looking tired, Tom.
6ixers scoring 4 points in a row either side of the halftime. That was they extended that gap from 7 each to 11-7. Brilliance looking to establish a bit of a run. A timeout by 6ixers. Something you always do as a captain if you see a team trying to get a little bit of momentum going. Call a timeout, try and break their flow. Don't let the defensive line build that energy and confidence. But Brilliance looking alert. Previously, they've not looked. They look like hungry dogs on there. They're running down the field, seeing if they can get some Canadian blood. The pull has not helped them. Drifting out of bounds, and Kimura. She ran out of options and had to throw that deep shot in the previous point. Looking downfield, great angle from our camera to see the 6ixers stack. Kimura spins it out just beyond the outstretched hand of Jordan Merrin. Pressure paying. Brilliance with a chance to go on a 3-point roll.
And again, that's not something we're used to seeing from Kimura as well, as she tries to get this back.
Big disc going up. There's going to be a lot of sky underneath this one. Nicely read into the end zone. Brilliance have done it 3 points in a row. 2 breaks back to back. 6ixers needing to rally after this. Brilliance back with all the momentum. They only trail by 1. Can they bring it back to 11 each, Becky?
I mean, I absolutely think with the momentum that they're gaining right now, they can, Tom. In order to come out of a second time out there, 6ixers called that one to try to stop the momentum. They've come down with a statement point here, causing Lauren Kimura, who's been absolutely perfect so far in this game, now make 2 mistakes, 2 points back to back, and they've been broken again to make this game a 1-point game.
Well, it was Anna Pushtovaya caught the disc. The defender, it wasn't her defender, that it poached off to come and cover her, and that left a completely unmarked player in the end zone for the score. And again, we see Sasha Pushtovaya back on the field. We do now, yes. But coming out on defense, she's been the anchor of their offensive line. The big 69 shirt. Poaching in that lane. Nice movement from the 6ixers. Tingle back on the field after her injury. Nice flow around the back. Textbook dump and swing. Not able to collect. There was contact, but the disc looked like it had gone through the fingers before.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Tom. I'd like to see good discussion here as well. We're going to get a second shot at it on our screens right now.
Disc from Dos Santos riding. There was contact, but it did look from our angle as though it had come after the disc had gone through hands. Very difficult when you're on the field to judge this yourself. You can see the Jumbotron. I'm not sure if they're using that. Well, it's been contested and it's going to go back. Jeanette Kwok and Inga Sulamova unable to reach a conclusion. 6ixers still have it. Fast cutting, 6ixers under pressure, disc into the sky. Somehow comes down with it. Great grab by Lewis. Back across the field and a pick called. Wind causing havoc, but Molly Lewis, the first hand up. timed her jump well, came down with it, keeps possession for the team in white. That's a nice short, sharp pass into the end zone, and Kwok, who we saw earlier having that discussion about the contact, is the receiver in the end zone. 6ixers stops the Brilliance D-roll. 2-point margin re-established. Sorry, Becky.
I think 6ixers there starting to feel a little bit of the pressure that Brilliance is putting on them as well. We saw 6ixers put up 2 shaky throws to that far side, sitting up into space. Molly Lewis makes a great grab to come down with it, but that was not a 100% decision by the 6ixers. So Brilliance, I think, a little bit more with the momentum on their side. Only down 2 points. They're very much back into this game, Tom.
Just taking a moment to enjoy the surroundings we have here at our World Championships. WFDF 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships. Flags fluttering, teams from 36 nations, 128 teams, and 3,000 athletes. And over here at the, quite frankly, remarkable Lebanon Sports Complex, I've never seen such a huge sports field. Almost entirely uniform green grass, beautifully marked fields, and athletes enjoying every single moment of this world's experience. It's a bright blue skies. The disc is poor from Pushtovaya. 6ixers with another chance. Early turnovers, Pushtovaya not having a good game. They're so reliant on her as a supplier of quality discs. Dos Santos, almost confusion in the backfield between the 6ixers, and a poor disc. Handling errors have cost them. Pushtovaya sends the fake. Now she sends the big shot up. Dos Santos underneath it. Oh, second time round, she's got it. Almost a replay of the final goal from the Beach Championships, where Cree Howard passed a header onto the same player. Unbelievable action. Dos Santos had done all the work, Becky. She got the block. Catch your D's is the message from that one.
You always do say catch your D's. She did have to reach up quite high for that one, and like you said, an exact replay almost of what we saw at Beach Worlds for the final point last year. Gets the D. Great heads-up play to turn around and lay out for the score. That could be a momentum-changing point as well. 6ixers definitely on the back foot right now here at this point in the game.
Yeah, Poldovskaya and Pushtovaya, that combination, so well known around the world as a really deadly force on offense. And Pushtovaya, she'd got the turnover in the midfield, and the thing that she did so well was throw that huge fake. The defender had to bite on it, and that opened up the whole field. It wasn't a great disc, to be honest. Dos Santos was in position, should have got the block. Brilliant, as they have done all the way through this game, riding their luck a little bit. 6ixers may feel a little bit aggrieved if they do not win this, because they have given the disc to Brilliance so much, and Brilliance have been lucky. You have to say it. They have been lucky in this game. Luck never shows up on the scoreboard, though, as Kimura's chasing this one down. A bit of Brilliance pressure from Parshakova. Margarita Parshakova gets up early. 6ixers going for the long ball. Not working out this time, Becky.
And that's the first one we've seen from 6ixers where they've really thrown that huck into coverage as well. They're usually throwing those shots to wide open players on their team, but Kimura covered there. And Brilliance, now the opportunity to break to tie this game up. Tom, this is quite exciting.
This is a big moment. Sarah Kidd just calling the pick. Deep shot goes up again, reading it. Second time round, third time round. The disc isn't on the floor yet. Now it is. Akramova was underneath that with a great chance. Parshakova throwing herself on the floor. Kimura still with it for 6ixers. Kidd up into the end zone. Skarampi bids. Merin near the sideline. We're going to have a look at the replay to give a judgment of this. The player on the field is calling it out. Let's have a look up the sideline. This camera should be a great angle for us. Kimura to Kidd. Kidd, let's have a look at the feet. Might be difficult to see. really difficult to see. This might be a better angle. Let's hope we've got something.
That is very hard to tell, Tom, what the first point of contact was. She did slide, which is very hard to see if she hit the line first or stayed in bounds.
This is the one last angle. She has the disc there. No, she was in. She was in. That was a goal.
She managed to get her foot down before falling into that slide. That was a phenomenal grab from Rhoda Marin.
And we didn't see that last replay. The players are able to ask us if there is some coverage. The rules allow that, but they didn't. And we weren't able to provide a definitive answer. What a takedown that. Absolutely no doubt at all. Anushka Bodre taking out of the sky, and an uncontested foul from Akramova. 27 shirt. Throwaway, but cleaned up second time round by Marin. Movement still from the 6ixers. That's a break across the field. There was 4 players that could have come up with it for the 6ixers. The supplier, Sarah Marr, feels like she got away with it a little bit. They're 2 ahead again.
Yeah, and we're seeing a little bit of luck now on the side of the 6ixers with that one, Tom, but great heads-up play from the rest of the stack to be aware that that disc is sometimes going to hang up into the air. And you see the huge layout D attempt there from Brilliance, and then Sarah Marr all the way across the field. Innes reeling that one in.
6ixers 2 points clear. They're 2 from the win here in Cincinnati.
Heat illness strikes kids and adults alike during summer workouts. Watch for muscle cramps, fever, nausea, headache, weakness, or feeling faint. Act fast to get cool and get fluids.
There's 25 miles an hour of breeze blowing across the fields here in Cincinnati, the Lebanon Sports Center. 40 miles north of the big city, is host to the WFTF 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships. The Canadian team, 6ixers from Toronto, 2 points clear from Brilliance. Brilliance came out of that half and were punished with a big roll from the 6ixers defense. 3 points in a row, 4 points clear. Brilliance rallied. 6ixers have re-established this 2-point margin with another break of their own. It's been a very up and down game for both these teams. Hard running, gets herself free. Badagina looks up the line to Tizik. Great hands from Tizik, clings on to that. Skarampi cuts up the line, goes to ground. No mistake from her. Dumanskaya goes back. Tizik available on the break, but the force from the 6ixers player Lewis prevents anything going round into the end zone now. McLeod with another great piece of defense, runs through, takes away the option. Brilliance not able to score upfield, and McLeod's defense has been the difference between 2 or 3 points now.
Yeah, McLeod just turning into a second gear there. She took a second to judge where that disc was going and used her speed to beat both of the Brilliance players to that disc. Not a chance for either of them as she got there first.
Real aggression running from the 28 shirt. Jenna McLeod. A 31-year-old. He also represented Team Canada at Beach last year in Hoi An. Sixers with the disc in the backfield. Pressure from Brilliance. Pressure building a little now. They've gone back into their own end zone. Cuts coming out. Dumanskaya covers that one, but Dos Santos is free on this near side. Poldovskaya letting it go free. And a pick in the stack. Brilliant spirit from both these teams, Becky. There are no big calls at all.
Yeah, we've had a few calls, but everything seems to be very easily discussed, always shaking hands after the discussion as well. So always good to see that spirit coming out here in such a tight game as well.
Yeah. Some of the Russian teams in the past have not always had the reputation for best spirit. And North American teams have sometimes struggled with getting the balance of physicality right. But these two teams are having a great battle out here. Very even, very fair. And the timeout called to reset. McLeod, she's been really quite an outstanding asset to this defensive line for the 6ixers. Getting that block there and just that extra bit of aggression. All the other players were running in the right direction, but she attacked the disc.
Yeah, and we've seen her do that a couple times now with that layout D earlier in the near corner of the end zone. She's a very, very quick player, but also very heads up, very smart, knows her body very well, so very easily gets to that disc first. And also I think bringing in a little experience of possibly playing against these Russian women at Beach Worlds last year as well. So she's got a little bit of a sense of what she's up against in this game.
Well, the teams discussing tactical changes, but more at this point in the game, just taking on some fluids, trying to rally themselves. Weariness setting in. 90-minute mark we're nearly at. It's 100-minute games to 15. 6ixers 2 points away, but they've got a lot of work to do to score those 2 points. They have the disc now and a chance to break Brilliance, put themselves within 1. Can they do it? So many times in this game they've looked like they're going to establish a big lead, and then they've thrown it away and they've turned over, and Brilliance have punished them. Disc goes deep. It's floating. The wind is pushing it down. McLeod again keeps it alive. Goes to the knees. Swings back around. The system for 6 is working. Dumanskaya is not going to let the break out and keeps it alive. Dos Santos again. Throw just couldn't quite connect in the end zone. Jenna McLeod and Dos Santos. What action we're seeing. Such frustration from the 6ixers. They did all of the hard work. They on the ground 3 times in that point to keep the disc alive. Couldn't quite connect in the end, Becky.
Yeah, just putting their bodies on the line. Worked it all the way up the field so beautifully. Right out of that timeout. Executed a play. Couldn't come down with it at the end.
Big disc from Dumanskaya, but Dos Santos relentless in her defense. She has run and run and run in this game. Poldovskaya on the mark. Lewis with the big disc up. Skarampi underneath it. And the Kinoshita was the target. Skarampi's position forced Kinoshita a little bit too far underneath that disc as it came in, arcing on the wind. Both players misjudging it perhaps. Turnover.
Yeah, and sometimes when the defender sucks you in like that, it's very easy to follow that in to try and come down with the disc. Both of them in that case reading it wrong.
Brilliance in a horizontal stack, creating space for Elisa Tizik to come under. Again, handling errors from both these teams. It's been almost the story of the game, the number of discs that haven't quite connected. It's a nice shot from Chen to Lewis. Lewis looks around over the top, can't find a gap. Into space, and laying out Poldovskaya. Didn't know what was behind her, didn't want to leave it to chance either. She goes 2 hands to the ground. Another disc in the hands of the team from Russia.
I think Brilliance here, feeling the need and the sense of urgency to get this point as well. You do not want to give 6ixers game point at 14-11. So really putting themselves on the line here.
Skarampi sends it deep. Watched all the way by Miriam Tingle. And now a quick start from the team in white. 6ixers moving the disc nicely. Chen. Down the far side to McLeod. Chen slips, comes back for the reset. And there's Reset is too fast, too aggressive. No float on that disc at all from McLeod. She comes to the disc. Domanskaya looks deep straight away. No surprise there. She sent it. It's going to catch on the wind. It's going to drift over Dos Santos, but just enough contact from Dos Santos to send it over the Brilliance receiver. And tumbling to the ground, is that Poldovskaya again? She has run and run as well.
Yeah, Poldovskaya has really put it all out here on the field, getting that layout block moments ago in the end zone, running all the way down here, trying to get in and just landing a bit hard on that ground. You see her head whip a little bit on the ground as she falls there. Credit to Dos Santos elevating and really trying to avoid the contact there between the two players.
Yes, it's a good job she got that touch, because if she hadn't got the touch, there was another Brilliance player ready for the backup. Just enough of a fingertip from Dos Santos. She's been outstanding on defense. McLeod making herself available in the lane. Disc to the ground. Skarampi closes the door. Domanskaya shoots for the end zone. Skarampi for the double happiness. She takes it out of the sky. Ahead of the advancing player from 6ixers. Skarampi back within one for Brilliance. We're going to have a close finish to this one. It's 13-12, Becky.
Yeah, and Skarampi really coming into her own in the second half. It's not a name we said a lot in the first half of this game, but showing up, double happiness. Incredible job to get that layout block, and immediately she's cutting to the far side of the end zone. Often you see players try to go up line, clogging the space, but she also knows the ability of her throwers to hit that beautiful crossfield flick as well. And Brilliance desperately needing that point as well, and we see the hand block again. Skarampi immediately goes to the far side.
I saw a couple of the replays of Poldovskaya's vital layout D in her own end zone, saving the score at the other end. And Brilliance working the disc back up with the point block from Skarampi and an absolute snag in the end zone, dragging the disc away out of the hands of Miriam Tingle. She almost got there, Tingle. She worked really hard, but Skarampi's extra reach and range took the disc at the highest point she could. Some incredible footage here from our Sky Cam. See the zone positioning, so the person marking of Brilliance. Wind has dropped off a little bit, and it's more blowing from the left to the right on the camera positions. And another pick.
I think a violation called there, Tom. Just Sarah Boback getting a little bit excited, trying to make her cut a little bit early.
Pushtovaya on the field. Sasha Pushtovaya. Anna Pushtovaya marking as well. Innis. Nice disc, but it was just beyond the outstretched hands of Sarah Kidd. Handling errors, throwaways. I would not want to be doing the throwaway stats on this 6ixers team at the end of this game, Becky.
No, the second part of this game, the last few points have really been a very different story. In the first half, Brilliance, the team getting lucky, and now arguably 6ixers, the team getting lucky in the second half, Tom.
Pushtovaya sends the fake, sends the big disc. Could not pick out her sister. Downfield, Baudre. Kimura sends it into the end zone, but drifting away once more. 6ixers turning it. Again, a throwaway. Wind's not a factor in that one. The wind has almost completely died. The heat building here. I think all the players were benefiting from the gentle breeze blowing around this Lebanon Sports Complex, Becky.
Yeah, definitely the wind keeping everyone cool. And 6ixers have got to be careful not to gift this disc back too much to Brilliance. There's only so many times Brilliance are going to turn it over at this point. The momentum fully on their side right now, Tom.
So this is the zone look. Just big poach off. And disc is going to have to come back. Disc is going to have to go back. Parshakova on the far side of the field. The first time I met Parshakova, she was a junior playing in Turku in Finland when I was out there covering that World Championships.
I think in this case, the Sixers players, we've seen them do this a few times now, waiting for the delay of games and then starting the stall count a bit early, and it looks like a stall down discussion here. And I think the discussion with the game advisors and possibly the translator here in Silimova discussing when that stall count should have started, whether or not that was down.
Game advisors. We hear the whistle from the other game advisor saying time for discussion is over. It's a difficult one. There's no send back here. It needs to be an outcome one way or the other because the disc was coming in. And slap of the hand from Sasha Pustovaya. The disc is going to stay where it is in the hands of Parshakova. Wanting to clarify the rule, make sure there hadn't been a violation. Parshakova signaling to the rest of the team before she taps this in that everyone's going to be happy.
You can see on the drone shot now as well, she's got acres of space on that far side of the field.
Her marker Kimura's in the center, on the F of WFDF. And the disc is going to go back now. Slightly confused what the conversation was. It's going to go back to Sulimova, center of the end zone line. From that sky shot, the field looks enormous, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It looks like there's so much space out there, and you know, when we see it from the ground angle, the spaces just close away. Do you realize how much the disc does travel across the field and how fast it travels from our drone camera footage? Fulcrum Media doing a great job of bringing you all the action this week. Brilliance with the disc in hand. Under pressure from the Sixers. Parshakova got a free rein with that big arm of hers. Just a short pass this time. Pichugina down the line, and it's the other Parshakova sister, Pustovaya sister, Anna Pustovaya, who goes out of the side of the field. Bring it in again. Anushka Bodre. Sends it into the end zone. Reading, it's Dos. So it's Sarah Bobak with the catch for the Sixers. They take it within one of this game, riding their luck all the way through, but they are almost there.
And again, the luck for the Sixers in the second half, a very late stall count throw. But credit to Bobak, she was always going deep at that point. She turns over her shoulder to find the disc as well. And Sixers, the difference between the first half and the second half here for me, Tom, the luck that Brilliance had has now shifted over to the Sixers as well. And a little bit unfortunate for Brilliance, as I think there are some points that they should be coming down with at this point.
Well, I think tactical naivety from Brilliance in the first half, thinking they could rely on those deep shots. Sixers were brilliant defense. Brilliance still got some of those deep shots away and still scored from some of them, but it was a much lower percentage option than it had been in their previous games. And you know, Sixers deserve a lot of credit for shutting down that. And it took them a long time to adapt. It took them a long time to put a different O-line look out. Now they have started doing that. They've started to be a bit more effective, and their defense has started to get into gear. Sixers have made too many handling errors. If they're going to go on from this game and they're going to do better in the bracket play in their last game of the power pools, then they are going to need to tidy that up. Otherwise, it's been an impressive performance from a tactical point of view. They've had lots of really interesting defensive and offensive looks. Their system is clearly well drilled. But if you can't catch the disc when it's near you.
Yeah, and they're going to have to play Brute Squad later on today, who is absolutely a dominant team on the USA Ultimate scene. We've seen them win multiple national titles. Sixers are going to have to clean that up if they want to compete with them as well.
Yeah, Brute Squad will not give you the disc back the same way as Brilliance have done. Scarampy, poor disc, and it's quickly picked off by Jeanette Kwok. Crystal Dos Santos, downfield. McLeod, and contact made between McLeod and Scarampy. Scarampy running through, coming straight towards our camera. Not sure if we had a replay of that. Downfield. Here's Scarampy running through. Can't see much contact before Scarampy took the disc from that replay, but we couldn't, maybe hip to hip. It's going to stay with the 6ixers. Sixers into the end zone, and they've taken the game. They have beaten Brilliance 15-12. Ups and downs all the way through. It's been a pleasure to watch this one, but they have dispatched a up and down Brilliance team with moments of greatness and moments of real concern about their personal handling and their throwaways, but they'll take this win. No one will remember the quality of the game. They will remember the result. Sixers win it.
Yeah, a phenomenal game there in general. The whole game, Sixers with a phenomenal first half, and Brilliance coming out in the second half, deciding to play a different style of game, making the adjustments they needed to the strategy that Sixers had brought out. But athletic plays all across the board. We saw some huge layouts from both teams and phenomenal hucks as well. So a great job for both teams, but Sixers, like you said, nobody's going to remember the luck that they had in the second half. It's all about the result. They've won this one 15-12.
Well, the wind played its part in creating lots of opportunities for those throwaways, discs not quite connecting into hand, bobbling long shots and throws out of bounds, but it created no shortage of highlights as well. Layouts from both these teams are plenty. Sixers have won it, and they go on. Brilliance needing to be a little bit more tactically aware, I think, is the conclusion they will reach. See some of the moments of the game. The Sarah Kidd Callahan for Sixers. McLeod with that block. Dos Santos with the layout. Dos Santos, one of the highlights of this game. Phenomenal play. Poldovskaya with the block. Fakes for days from Pushtovaya. Scarampy shutting the door. But in the end, it's been the Sixers game. You make your own luck, they say, and Sixers have done just enough of that. It's been a pleasure to have you with us for this one. From Becky Thompson and Tom Stiles, wish you all the best for the rest of the day. Do keep with us from the World Ultimate Club Championships in Cincinnati.
Catch it early. Help us teach kids about cancer symptoms through Ultimate Frisbee clinics. Join us and speak up.